Hi there, I'm Exactly Nerf, and this is my brass knockout. And it's a fairly special brass knockout. If you're wondering why, well, I'll explain to you in just a moment. So, if you're wondering why this is special, well, it's just kind of a normal brass knockout. It's got this Adventure Force Pro barrel from the Aeon and the Nexus, and if you're watching this later on, whatever other cool blasters they've released that have this. And it friction fits into this piece of rival pusher. I found it in my parts bin. You don't want to look behind my sheet because my parts bin's there and my parts bin's overfilling. It's not a good sight, trust me. So anyway, if you've been living under a rock and you don't really know what a brass breech is and you don't know what I just showed you, well, that barrel connects to this piece of 17/32 brass that I got at Ace Hardware in the craft metal selection. Oops. And how I attached it is I pulled out, there's a little tab thing, and I got pliers and pulled it out and then wrapped electrical tape around the 17/32 brass and shoved it in. This took a little bit of testing, so if you're doing this, make sure to be patient. You have to kind of put more tape on than you'd want and take some off as you see fit until it fits. No pun intended. And I just glued that in. Didn't really need it, but I wanted it just to be extra certain it was never coming out. And there's a little bit of 9/16 that sleeves over that in the original rival barrel. And I applied that the same way, electrical tape and then hot glue. And for those of you who have been living under a really big rock, well, 9/16 and 17/32 brass sleeve together airtight. So right now the breech is opened and now it's closed and this part's airtight. And the only way air can escape is through this barrel. Now, there was also some holders here for balls, rival rounds. And I got some acrylic CD case acrylic, am I right? Well, anyway, and attached them there and then epoxied over it. So it's very smooth. Actually, it's not that smooth, but the Hydro Dip kind of covers the little bad parts. And this is stock spring because I couldn't find a spring that could nest inside the original spring with enough compression. I can't talk today, I'm sorry. And get enough compression, so I just left the stock spring and I'm happy with it, you know. It's very powerful. I shouldn't have just looked down the barrel. And if you're wondering why this is special, if you haven't noticed it, you know, if you're blind or something. I don't mean any offense to blind people, but if you're blind, you wouldn't have noticed that it's hydro dipped. And I like to think that this is a very smooth focus camera. This is a very smooth, clean hydro dip. And on this side, there's this one part here that I'm not super happy with, but I don't mind. And I guess it's not really special in the grand scheme of things. Hydro dipping's been around for a long while, not just in Nerf. But this is the first hydro dip I've ever done with complete success. Well, except for this part. There are no bubbles in it, everything's super smooth. And it actually covered up all the little blemishes in the epoxy. I thought this was just going to be a little quick project for me, and it was. It didn't take that long. It only took like a day if you don't count epoxy and paint drying. So I didn't do too good of a job sanding the epoxy. But that didn't matter because once I put the hydro dip on, the paint kind of has texture. So you can only really see that the epoxy work isn't good in certain lights sometimes. Oh, yeah, and just to get a smoother surface, there was a seam on the knockout right here, just for looks, and I deleted that. or I added more material to it, so I guess I added on to it, you know? And then sanded it down. Well, that's my knockout. Let's see it fire, shall we? Alright, so I've got my blaster and this baggie of darts that I'm going to distribute to children at school. I can barely say that without cracking up, but it's only darts. So I'm just going to put them on top of my paint collection, and I'm going to fire down there at the door. And I do not have a big enough spring in this. I didn't have a strong enough spring to make it auto retract, so I just have to kind of flick it. Adds to the intimidation factor, I guess. As you can see, it is very powerful. And an old NIC trick is, this was commonly used with speed loaders, but I guess this is a brass breeched pistol, so it's kind of NIC-ish, right? Is you put the darts in your mouth. I probably look really silly and I can't talk like this. And this is probably a huge choking hazard. You can't understand what I'm saying right now, probably. I don't care, I'm having fun. And that's probably very unsanitary and a choking hazard, so don't try it at home. I know people are going to say this in the comments because people aren't nice, but this does not look like an Oreo. I don't see how it looks like an Oreo. When I posted this on Reddit, when I posted it on Discord, or shared it on Discord, I guess, a few people said it looks like cookies and cream, looks like an Oreo. Well, you're wrong. Your opinion is wrong, and it doesn't look like an Oreo. See, I just really like white and black. Not black and white. Black and white's kind of emo. But white and black, I like the contrast. And this is a little too much black, but I think it turned out well. But it's not an Oreo. Well, I've been Mixed Cleaner. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and maybe comment if you want.